Good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folani. We thought we'd continue where we left off yesterday. We're looking at expectations of the incoming GMB administration, General Muhammadu Buhari. As if to say, you know, it was just a coincidence that, of course, by now you found out in the news that he had hosted all the APC governors, maybe, you know, sort of looking towards something of a game plan as to how they shall hit the ground running. And the president was in, you know, he didn't mince his words. Well, I beg your pardon, the president-elect didn't mince his words. You might have seen it as well. One of the challenges, according to General Buhari, just quoting one of the stories here, is that we have to think, quoting General Buhari now, we have to think of how to persuade people to give us a chance to organize the economy immediately and get these problems fixed. So it's about, we have to think about how to persuade the people. Now, it seemed to me that persuading the people about how to, they want it fixed. The people want the economy fixed. So if it's persuading the people, it's indicative to me that there just might be tough times ahead. And is there any way around it, or am I reading it wrong, as I very well could be? Well, we'll find out because we have experts, a panel of experts this morning. Delighted to have Professor Femi Ajayi in the studio. He is of the Department of Political Science and Public Administration, Babcock University. Thank you very much, Professor, for coming on.
Thank you for inviting me to this program.
You're very, very welcome. And our friend, Dr. Fasi Yusuf. Don't tell him if you have a pain, if you have a headache. He is not the doctor that you want. He is a legal practitioner. He's a lawyer, and he's a political communication expert and fellow Department of Mass Communication, University of Lagos. He also was a commissioner back in the day in Ogun State, but that was in the military era. Thank you very, very much for coming on, Dr. Yusuf.
It's my pleasure, Yori.
Indeed.
Always nice to be here.
Thank you. Well, you're our guest. This is the first, and I hope it's going to be the first of a number of occasions. So we'll give you the first honors. General Buhari is saying that we are going to have to find a way to persuade the people to see that that which we have to do, there's no way out. What did you read into that? Because as I said, in my own simple mind, it seemed to me like belt tightening, tough times ahead. What's your read, Prof?
Thank you very much, and it is very easy to change. Now is the challenge facing the reality of the whole thing. We know that there are many challenges in this country, and to persuade the people to actually see where we are coming from, because they could feel what is happening in Nigeria today before the election. Now is now realizing what is actually on the ground. The same method he used to actually persuade people to vote for him. So he has to do the same tactics, but differently, to see this is the reality. What I'm expecting from him is an openness. Let's see the whole thing that is on the ground. He has to be very, very transparent to what is actually happening. Let the whole world know this is the situation of things here.
Okay.
There is no way of actually using cosmetic or type of thing. He should actually be able to tell the whole world this is the situation of things on the ground. Then if people understand what is actually on the ground, then it will be easy for him to actually see how you can persuade them. But the reality must be set.
Okay. Dr. Yusuf, the Prof didn't, he seemed to agree, although he didn't go there, that tough times might just be ahead, and that if he suggested that once the administration is open with the people, then it might be doable. And I say that in the context of belt tightening is never a popular political measure anywhere.
Well, I think the fundamental thing is that we must do away with the laissez-faire attitude of our people. For too long, we have been living in a fool's paradise. We behave as if we're endowed with everything, to the extent that we are reckless with public life. We are reckless with our approach to issues. And government has become a jamboree. to the extent that everybody wants to get there. Government is too attractive, and it is wasteful, and most times very irresponsible, very unconscious, and not attuned to the yearnings and aspirations of the people. There's a disconnect between the people and the government to the extent that everybody's looking up to them. Whatever crumbs they can give us, we'll take. Everybody wants to be there because that's where the money is. But now, the reality has to be shown to everybody that, look, you must have the joy of service to go there, and do not expect manna from heaven. You see,
and
Nigeria is the most expensive democracy in the whole world.
Okay.
It's the most expensive. You go to America, where we practice the same presidential system. Go to Britain, where we have parliamentary system of government. I have never seen a country that is as reckless as we are. When people fly on first class, they stay on in 5,000 naira a night suites in hotels and all the rest. And when some people cannot even afford 1,000 naira a day, it's very sad. And I think, thank God, we are living that time, and may we continue to be hard for us.
Indeed. Well, Prof. Ajayi, if indeed, as you have suggested, the way the incoming administration that will be led by General Muhammadu Buhari conducts itself, if it is on the platform of transparency, first of all, you said the very way, the very method he used to persuade people to vote for change, which was what he championed, that was on one side. Then most people would say that General Buhari was elected because of the perception of him as an anti-corruption man, a disciplined person and an anti-corruption person, in addition to whatever else was there. Now, I say that because I want to link it back to what you said, that transparency, and I think that links to the persuasion bit, about persuading Nigerians that this was. Now, what you're suggesting in there is that once people see how bad it is, which has always been kept a secret, then there'll be more, what is the word now? They'll be able to sympathize and identify with whatever needs to be done.
Empathize.
And thank you very much, Dr. Fassi. And empathize with the administration in these difficult times. But doesn't this sound a bit like, well, we didn't hear any of this on the campaign trail, or you were saying that it's been bad for 16 years and when we come it's going to be changed. Now you people are talking about give us time. Do you think the electorate would be within the rights?
What is going to be changed? I think you mentioned here that talking about corruption and stuff like that, it has to start with the National Assembly. How many of us know their salaries? How many of us understand even their allowances? We talk about big government. That is where the whole problem is.
How many of us?
Why are people now trying to go there to contest at all costs? Make government to be very lean.
He has said his cabinet will be
very,
small.
very lean.
I don't know if he keeps to that.
Even
but he has said
their salaries must be somebody. It's a service to the country. It's not a place where you go and make money. It's a place where you go to actually render your service. If you can start from there, then all this better thing you are talking, you are suggesting, people will know that yes, really you want to do it, because they are supposed to actually make some legislation, some laws that will affect the country, that will correct the social ills of the country. But they are I always call that place an incubator of corruption in the National Assembly. Let them peg down their salaries. Take, for instance, they go for hotel, you just mentioned here, $500,000, naira at night. What are they going to do there? They don't need it. Yeah, this oversight service they are doing. Let them start from there. If you start from there, then people very serious say, yes, you're trying to actually encourage people to go there and provide services, but not to make money.
We don't even know, in addition, how much we're really making from our oil. These are secrets. These are state secrets. I don't think anybody gives an accounting of that. Most people would say, why? Why is it almost like a state secret? It's practically a state secret. Nobody can come out and say with any certainty that this is how much we make per day, per quarter, per whatever,
It's just unfortunate that that oil sector is the place where they have the bill of corruption in this country. It's just like running water, they just try to extract it. We don't know how much is even taken out from there. And we have all people making some money from that oil. Let us have some kind of transparency in the oil sector. It's unfortunate that it's the bane of Nigerian economy. It shouldn't be. They should even get the money from there and develop some other areas of economy in this country. So let us actually work on that and ensure that we have transparency in the oil sector.
Dr. Yusuf, do you also subscribe? Do we need to know, for instance, that little detail about how much is Nigeria making on a daily basis? Why is it a secret?
Nigeria needs holistic operation from top down. You see, ordinarily Nigeria will be a very easy country to govern, but our leaders have made it ungovernable. A lot of indiscipline, a lot of recklessness, lack of transparency, lack of accountability, and all other nefarious activities. If we talk about National Assembly, that's to start from the presidency, the executive, the legislature, the judiciary, even the media, and the ordinary people. You see, Nigerians are very easy to govern if only you can show them leadership. We know that every spectrum of the Nigerian life is upside down. Everything has gone haywire. There's no transparency in the oil sector. There's no transparency anywhere. And again, the basis of our existence is federalism. But are we practicing true federalism? For God's sake, my verdict is no. What we have is a unitary system of government where the federal government will decide to dish out crumbs and what have you. Whereas the federating units should contribute. The federal government is doing what it ought not to do. It has primary schools, it has secondary schools, it has tertiary education and others. It talks about agriculture, whereas the federal government has no land. The Constitution does not give land to the federal government. The Constitution gives land to governors to be held in trust for the people.
But these are constitutional issues,
yes.
As you've just said.
But we are not following them.
Yes.
We are not following them.
Okay.
So we need a leader that's ready to navigate change. A leader that is ready to say, look, let's call it spade a spade. This is where we are.
One of the things that General Buhari reportedly spoke to the governors about when they visited him is the economy is shabby, quoting a word from the report, and so much so that it has led to, I think, civil servants, federal civil servants, not having been paid yet for about 3 months. And says that's one of the first things.
They borrowed about 5 billion naira in the last 3 months to pay workers.
So that's one of the things he said that it's going to be necessary to sort of fix as at least one of those little things that you do, well, little in relative terms in the context of the entire economy, to show that it's a different sheriff in town, if you like.
Yes, sheriff, welcome sheriff. And then the power is just too much for the central government.
But that's what is going to happen.
It's not, it shouldn't be. They should deviate the power to the states. If they are able to deviate that power to the states, then they should be able to control their resources. All this going to Abuja every day or every month to go and collect money from there will be reduced. And the excesses of the federal government will be curtailed in terms of actually sitting on top of everything, the money. Even the resource that belongs to the state, where they should actually generate and actually focus on the development of the state and even pay their workers.
Desirable as this idea may be, can he actually pull that off, given the convention that we've had?
They can pull anything off. It's just mention that Nigeria is very easy to govern.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
The way it should be done.
Where there is a will,
yes,
there is a way.
Do it the way it should be done. Nigeria are not stupid people. Go around the whole world. You will see Nigerians occupy some very tough positions, very high positions, policy-making positions, and they are doing good over there.
Yeah.
They use the same brain over there. But the environment
the
here,
system.
The environment here,
system.
We run a very corrupt system in this country. So trying to actually stop any corruption in this country will mean that we have to overhaul the system itself. There is structural defect on what we do in this country. And with that correction, Nigerians can do it very, very good. But the central government is too powerful. Dismantle that.
Well, Dr. Yusuf, he said there's a structural defect, and structural defects aren't fixed in 48 hours, or can they be? Maybe does it depend on what is the attitude that you're coming to government with? Because my thinking is that those ones are fundamental, that require quite a number of people to contribute to, you know, National States Assembly and all of that.
No, I tell you, and we, thank God, myself and Prof, we are speaking the same language. You see, most Nigerians will speak the same language. The problem we have in this country is that of leadership. We do not have leadership that will navigate change. We do not have a leadership that is...
We haven't had one till now.
Well, some semblance in the past are not there, but not really. Because I tell you what has been happening in that 16 years. You have a minister who will come on board with about 10 personal aides, special advisor, special assistant, and the president himself will also have his own special advisor. You have a press secretary, and the Federal Ministry of Information will also post another press secretary, press assistant, and all the rest. At the end of the day, it's a jamboree. When you have about 20...
GMB has said that he probably won't be doing things like that, because
there's
a time when he has said that he was explaining why his cabinet was going to be small,
because he was
which
there,
is not going to be good
because
news.
Because he was there before, and some of us were there before. We knew what was happening then, and we know what it has become now. It has become so much of a jamboree that everybody wants to get there. Everybody now believes that without being in government, I will not be able to survive. So let me join them. Otherwise, look at the spate of defections and all the rest. When government has not to, the new government, incoming government has not even been formed.
Yeah, but that's natural of political people all over the world.
No, it's not natural.
To start jockeying and lobbying for position.
No.
They have no, I'm sorry, they have no principles. If they have a focus that this is what I'm going to actually do, they don't have to differ from any party. They should stay there and structure that place very well. So that to communicate with people. This is our own stand.
Which has been APC's advice.
Excuse me.
It has been APC's advice to them. Stay there, build your party, become a viable opposition.
Excuse me, it is lack of credibility in Nigerian polity. And not only that, it is because in this country, there's no ideology. There's no ideology. People will ask you, who are those making APC? People from PDP, people from other political parties and all the rest. Up to this moment, you cannot tell the difference between PDP and APC.
Although the APC people vehemently disagree to that statement.
What are you talking about?
They just vehemently disagree.
No, they might, of course.
They say that, wait, that we are bringing change.
It is in their nature.
It is in their nature to bring change.
No, I mean, to debunk.
Okay.
No matter how concrete, no matter how realistic, no matter how cogent the issues you are trying to advance, politicians will have a way of doing their things.
But the electorate trusted Buhari when he said, "This is me, this is what I'm about, and this is what I'm going to do."
Has he done anything different?
I'm sorry, it's a persuasion. You know, in politics and where you have played that game, the way you are able to actually convince people to vote for you, that is what he did. It's quite different from what is on reality. You mentioned about something, opposition.
Yes.
We are running a presidential system of government. I don't hear of any opposition party. You are just, the media have to educate the community. You may have opposing view. This is the policy we are putting in place. Okay, instead of going that way, this is the way you should go. Not that way, but not an opposition party. When people are saying that, oh, stay there and form a formidable opposition. No. Go there and see if you can do anything differently. I think what APC did successfully is to, from day one, to actually say that we are the opposition. Anything PDP did, either right or wrong, is wrong. And that is the mentality of opposition. Okay. There are many ways you can actually work on an issue. If you are going this way, okay, it's not the better way this is another way of doing it. That is an opposing view, but not opposition.
Well, Prof, with due respect, without wanting to hold brief for them, you suggested in there that anything, whatever the ruling party did, was wrong to the APC. There were occasions when they had to, admittedly, grudgingly, commend particular moves here and there. So it's not as if it was a sort of...
I watch everything from A to Z. 99% of what PD was doing that time was wrong by APC.
But, I think I will have...
So are you saying that in the presidential system, the whole idea of opposition...
we took that one from the British, where
we started
and
from.
it's been our orientation, it's been in us. But we are going the new thing.
We are thinking global and acting local.
Exactly. So everybody has to actually know that you may have opposing view, but not a real opposition party, like we are just trying to educate the people on.
No, you see, personally, with profound respect to Prof, if you are in the other party, you are not in power.
You are not in?
You are not in power.
Oh, if you're in the other party, you're not in power.
Yes. And what you need to do is to be able to look at the problems or the mistakes of the government and provide solutions. And that was what Awolowo did all this time. But what you have these days is that people oppose you without providing solutions to the opposition, to the opposing view or position. For example, if you talk about American presidential system, the Republican Party will tell you that, look, we are opposed to this health care bill because of this or because of that. We are opposed to immigration act that you are trying to bring about because of this, because of that. But in this particular country, people play to the gallery. They want to see just the other side, and the other side without providing solutions. And that is not politics.
It's not politics, but I hear what you're saying, but we've had an election, and the people voted for the presentation of the incoming president. And I'm sure you'll be the very first to say that Nigerians are not fools. They can't be taken for a ride. They can't be taken for granted.
It's impossible to ride on the treasures of Nigerians. I mean, people are just watching. He made so many promises during the election to actually convince people that it's time for us. Everybody wants it. If you marry a wife for 16 years, what are you going to do? I'll be looking at somebody else on that, but you have to be watchful that your wife is at home is watching you. So you have to be very careful. But now that he has to actually face it and see and actually pick some programs that are immediate for the country, especially this power supply in this country. He has to, regardless what he does, he has to do that. Because power actually touches everybody's life and every segment of professions in this country. Once you have this one, hey, Nigerians are very intelligent people, and they are very, very, very forceful in terms of work. They can easily find ways of actually using what is on the ground. We have to actually look at that power thing initially. But talking about this corruption, which is now all over the world, he has to be very careful on how he handles the corruption. Is, like I said initially, is the structural defect. Or that is we practice. If you go there today, you are not going to be corrupt, but if you get to the system where corruption is being practiced, you are going to be corrupt. Well, if he can actually set, we're not asking him to stop it immediately, but he has to put a structure on the place, on the ground,
so,
for us to follow.
So the structure, the systems are weak, and it would seem to encourage corruption, is what you are saying. So those systems have to be revisited, otherwise, so that when you can't do a certain thing anymore, simply because the system, apart from it being a rule, the system doesn't allow it, then you are sort of...
I disagree. I disagree.
Okay.
I disagree.
Yeah, let's hear it.
The political will is what we need. As I said, I will now continue to say it, we need a leadership that will navigate change, a leadership that is ready to propel us to greater heights. It was this same country that EFCC was something. It was in this same country that ICPC was something. Remember when Justice Akambi was the chairman of ICPC, things were moving. Remember when Ribadu was there, things were moving. I mean, we still have the same EFCC that is lethargic, that is not responsive. We have the police force that cannot even bite. We have a police force that is leading with corruption. We need a leader that will say, hey, enough is enough.
But the whole thing is, as you've pointed out, sirs, structural. When you say we have, for example, you talk about the police, you have a police force that can't bite. I understand what you mean. When you look at the recruitment process, who do you recruit into the police force in the first instance?
Excuse me. I will blame the leadership of the police force. I will blame the leadership of the police force. You remember, it was on this program, on the same station, we said it. Pre-election, the immediate past IG was combative. Immediately the presidential election came about, and then the pendulum was swinging to the other side. It became reconciliatory. So it means Nigerians know what is right. It's just that they refuse to do what is right. So if you now have a leader that will tell you, look, if you don't do the right thing, you're on your own, I believe things will change.
Okay. Now, this is important. We're talking about corruption. You've suggested that we fix that. A lot will get fixed, will just, as it were, be fixed. But General Buhari himself says that, at least quoting from the meeting yesterday, that his first agenda is going to be security. And, quite frankly, nobody's going to be surprised at that. One, that's his area, that's his primary core constituency. He is a general, a retired general after all. And,
they don't retire. Generals don't retire.
And they say, exactly. So
on reserve list.
Forever, So that is what he said is going to be his primary goal. And how much of a task do you think that is, given the global
security,
situation?
I believe an average Nigerian should be well secured. A citizen of that country must be secured by the government. I want to go out at night, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., go and have fun. I'm free. I can even walk around the whole place, free of that. I want to drive from Ibadan to Kaduna and again have a rest of mind that, yes, there'll be freedom on this one. So technically, it's his first assignment, according to the set, and again, it should be a task. It's not even begging for that. Every average Nigerian citizen must be secured. And they're talking about the police.
Yes, okay, security still.
It's talking about police. The police have to be overhauled.
Okay.
We have to actually see that they are providing the service.
Because we see
not
the kind of people that are recruited.
for $2, $2 naira or $20 naira when you go about.
Framing you up and all the rest.
One of my writers always say that they are professional beggars because they were asking you. One night I was coming from here to one place and the policeman saw, give her money for weekend. I said, for what? You are supposed to secure me and look around and make sure that there is no anybody that is coming to disturb my trip. So we have to use that. And again, you're talking about this corruption. Everything. If, like you said, we have a good leader, we follow.
You have, Prof has talked about internal security, the crime and insecurity to lives, which was a major problem for a long while, until this whole insurrection, or shall we say terrorism, came into it. And that is now the focus, and it seems to be an intractable thing because we're made to understand that it's not exclusively a Nigerian thing. It's a global phenomenon, and this might just be the Nigerian wing of it. So that's what makes the problem different from the problem that Prof was indicating, which is a different armed robbers and all these kind of hoodlums. That's one thing, very, very important. But the other one where our very togetherness is being threatened by guys who managed to take 250, 70 odd of our girls that we haven't got back.
Let me just follow up on that before you answer. Who knows about that? We live with them. We know them. We are our own security. If we know, identify, somebody comes to your house and with this flashy car, and you cannot even identify him with a good job he's doing, he should be able to come out.
Oh, that's the whole different orientation that you're bringing about, Prof.
We have to
that the person shows up in front of his house with a Bentley, Nobody, that's
even when politicians, when they come with their flashy cars, then we begin.
Nobody
Convoy.
cares.
No one
Convoy
said
of
that.
cars.
It's us.
Fleet of cars.
So we have to follow. When you have good leadership, then we follow.
Let's come back to the issue of security you asked me to talk about.
Yes.
You see, we politicize the whole thing. Intelligence gathering is nil in this country. And our people have jettisoned the culture and the concept of policing, of security.
But we have an SSS.
Intelligence.
When you say it's nil, we have a functional...
I'm telling you that they are not doing what they ought to do. They are looking the other
We
side.
have a state security service.
How did
So what is the state security service
How
doing?
did the whole thing happen? Yusuf was arrested by the army. He was given to handed over to the police. In between that, he was murdered. Extrajudicial killing. That was the beginning. And when you have a small problem and you fail to tackle that problem, it will snowball into a proportion you cannot manage. And by the time the whole thing was escalating, government was looking elsewhere. And it became politicized. On several occasions, we were told that the people that were the Chibok girls will be found and all that. When a new army chief, in fact, the leadership of the military was changed, we were told that within 3 months, the whole thing will be over. A year after, nothing was over. And yet, the government could not challenge them. Look, all these military chiefs, you told me that within 3 months everything will be over. So what are you guys doing? And the same military told us that we will not be able to guarantee elections because we're busy fighting. So when they were given 6 weeks, it was then they swung into action. So where did that strength come from?
Okay. Nuruddin from VI, thank you very much for holding on. Please go ahead.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Yori.
Good morning, sir.
And the two white men over there.
Okay.
Yes. I congratulate the president-elect, General Buhari. But forgive me, let me just take a cue from the Bible. In the beginning, there was the word was formless, the word was researches, and there was darkness. What did God do first? God treated the darkness. In Nigeria, let it be light. If there's light, you can see both corruption and other things are going on. Let there be light first. That's our problem. Let's copy what God did. He has to fix the light first. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Nuruddin, for calling in.
Yes. Let there be light.
Yes.
And there should be light.
Yes.
And there must be light.
There must be.
Yes.
So
I concur.
So, well, talking about sky-high expectations,
Yes.
This is yet another expectation as evidenced by Nuruddin.
It's
that
very
he
high.
expects Buhari to make a difference.
Oh, yes.
In fact, you just heard him. Let there be light.
Yes.
He has no choice. He just has to make a difference. We are not asking him to save the whole world. We are not asking him to solve all the problems, but take the important ones and let's see. Even within 100 days, he should be able to have actually done something that, yes, this is what he is doing, the changes we have to do.
The mafia
Yes.
in the energy sector must be dismantled if it's going to make any difference. The mafia there and the issue of corruption, because it also affects energy.
Okay.
In this case, electricity.
Yes.
Because there are some people I know, that are Nigerians, that do not want us to have electricity. They want us to be in perpetual darkness. They are children of darkness. And I'm sure we'll get them out. Nigeria will be a better place.
Okay. Sheung from Matogun, I don't know that area. Good morning. I'm sorry, Sheung, if I lost you. Talking about, they are going to some things will have to be structurally adjusted. Right now, the structure is such that we have all these big generating set companies in the place. There are people who wonder, perhaps at their own ordinary level, about those are the kind of people that can't be very happy.
Look, it's a free economy. There's a gap, and they're trying to fill that gap. But let government block all the loopholes.
Okay.
So if you want to bring in your generator, if you don't have anybody to buy,
you will know to change your business model.
You are going to have a new business strategy.
Okay, Prof, before you come in, let me bring in Shola calling in from Ikeja, I believe. Good morning, Shola.
Yeah, good morning. I'm calling from Ikeja. Yeah.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, sir.
Thank you for calling.
First of all, I want to employ all politicians and all voters that the game is over. When you play a football match and the defender will want to do what he ought to do, not to allow the striker to score, that is the game of politics. And when it is over, it is not the fan or the watchers that will begin to treat those who are injured. It is the club that goes through the injured ones among the players for other matches. Nigerians should now please let us go into business. Stop all issues of political parties. Let them go and treat their problem. Now, sir, the president too, he knows this problem. Nobody should come and tell us anymore that we have to be patient. We've been patient since 1960 till now. What we want is solution.
Okay.
First of all, it is said the problem, the hub of this country, is make provision for people to go back to work. Let the Okada man goes back to his weather. Let him go back to his wedding job. Let the man that is a tailor or the woman who is a tailor go back to his shop. And how do you address some of these things? Is by providing light. If you can provide light, there will not be celebration for criminals, rich men who parade themselves with all these criminal cars. Because I will be satisfied that I'm doing what I'm doing. But when I don't have a job, that is why you begin to find this altar pastor. Then you can come and flash up things on the street and people think you are very important. Give light. If you give light, everything will go back to shape. That's just what is needed for now. It should start. We don't need to be told that we need to be patient. We've been patient. Let us have solutions.
Okay.
This problem.
Okay, Shola. All right then, Shola. Thank you very much. Interesting one.
Calling for action.
Interesting. Whereas we are saying that patience is going to be needed, he says, don't say that to me anymore.
No. Patience is gone.
I agree with 100%.
Patience is gone.
That let nobody tell us to be patient
hurry
again.
and they want the answer immediately. Now, in respect to Buhari, if he has taken 12 years to get this ticket, he doesn't have to waste no time at all. He has to hit the ground.
Decisiveness.
Exactly.
He must be decisive.
He knows what is actually happening in this country. That's why he kept on coming back, and now he has gotten it. He has to actually hear it. And Nigerians, we have to support and again the determination for us to do that is what we needed.
Okay.
You don't have corruption anywhere. Who practice that corruption? It's not us. It's Nigerians. Those even including the messengers in the offices.
Okay, I'm just a bit
so
curious.
we have to
when
all
you
of
say
you to do that.
When you say you agree 105% with that gentleman, say, don't tell us about patience now.
No.
It's action. Tell us it's action. Okay, Baba is calling in from Ikpaja. Good morning, Mr. Baba.
Good morning, my brother. Yeah, I'm very happy to hear what these people are saying. It's very important. I just want one thing to say. The president, we don't expect him to do everything for us. And nobody is expecting him to have a 7-point agenda which he can meet. What we want him to do now is to tackle corruption. And the reason I think corruption fight has failed is because our leaders have been afraid of losing power if they step on certain toes. If from Obasanjo to Yaradua to Jonathan, if anybody is ready to lose his post and start the fight and do something visible, irrespective of what before him and his own government, whoever is coming will know that he has something to start on. And that is what I want. That is the very reason I supported the president-elect. It's not because of any other thing, but I saw in him the fire that he could, the bill that he could perform and tackle corruption. Let him not come and begin to tell us that there are some people in the house, there are people there and there and there. We want him to fight corruption. That was his first slogan. If he can do that, other things will follow. He should be ready to say, I will do this, I refuse to do this, even if you impeach me, I stand by this. And Nigerians are watching. Thank you.
Thank you very much for what you're saying, Mr. Baba.
And what I would advise, I'm not sure what is the political game is about over there. Buhari should go in there. Whatever it takes, let him do it. Not even, he should stay there and work on that as if it's not coming back tomorrow. Because what coming back tomorrow will be that petting some things, do it the way it should be done.
Okay.
Forget about you coming back.
Much is expected of Buhari personally, because there's a personal aspect to him. The personal perception of most people, whatever his other qualities may be, is that this is an anti-corruption man, one, and I think discipline also will be thrown into the mix there. And I guess the two go together. If you're not going to be corrupt, you have to be disciplined. But he still has to work as a Democrat. Having said that, it's interesting what this gentleman has just said, Mr. Baba.
Is democracy synonymous with corruption?
No, it isn't. It isn't. But I'm saying that, because they are going to be opposing forces to whatever change is brought.
He should now try to be half corrupt.
No, I'm saying that the constraint he didn't have as head of state, he will have as president, I imagine, the way Democrats talk. Now, but more importantly, what Mr. Baba just said seemed to indicate that, look, urgent emergency measures are needed, and if he moves ahead, we will back him. And I think that's the most important thing. If the people back what you are saying, the people will tell even the National Assembly that we've complained about.
I'm sorry. Who will back him? He cannot just work like a dictator. He has to go through the National Assembly, and that is where he needs to actually strongly be with, because he did some legislation to move ahead. Even he may have some executive power, but at the same time, it has to be legislated before you can actually do anything.
Excuse me.
Sir, one moment, sir. Please hold the thought. Mr. Johnson from Agege, good morning, sir.
Good morning, dear. How are you?
Thank you for calling in.
Every one of you there. Yes, we have to understand Buhari in a simple language. You see, the treasury of this country has been cleared away. Buhari must be given a chance to set some things right. Otherwise, he will fail. The treasury is no more. Thank you, dear.
All right, thank you. Short and sharp. It goes without saying, people must plan, And so we now come back to this whole matter about a wee bit of patience is going to be necessary.
Excuse me. I've told you, patience is gone.
Okay.
Patience is history.
Okay. Well, it's just as well then. Since you're saying this, you probably will then be happy.
That was wrong.
You then will be happy to know that they've been working at it.
What patience did to us, it's no longer tenable. So let us now devise and design our own system that will make us get to the promised land. Okay? So, I will say that.
Yes.
As a lawyer, as a communication expert, I will tell you, it's not everything that will go to the National Assembly. Charity begins at home. By the time you have a president that has a lean administration, then people start seeing the reality on ground. Not having a president that has more than 200 domestic staff.
Yes.
11 presidential planes. Pilots not do anything. And we don't even have a national carrier.
So it can't be business as usual.
It should not be.
Okay, I got to take, people are...
Why you not allow me to talk for God's sake?
I beg your pardon, sir, because this panel extends to Agege and Ipaja. So...
I'm losing steam.
I'll come straight back to you. People are coming in with all sorts of creative names. We just had Mr. Baba. Now we have Mr. Time, as in T-I-M-E. Okay, Mr. Time, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Yoni. How are you?
I'm okay, Mr. Time.
Okay, please, what I will want is the general to do for us is one. You should give us life. Nigerians need life. That is why there are many problems.
Okay.
In Nigeria, it's not difficult to rule. When you give us life, if this is from his presidency, all other areas will be disciplined.
Mr. Time, do you have a time frame of when you expect this to be delivered?
There is no, it should start now.
When do you expect me to be able to say, look at what you asked for? 3 months, 9 months, what, 100 days?
Normally, when he's on board, when he comes on board, at least 3 months, all this money that is flying up and down, let him arrest that one first.
Okay.
Because he cannot start with nothing.
All right, thank you.
Money are flying up and down.
Thank you very much for calling in, Mr. Time. Thank you. Fasi, please, get the stream back up.
So when you talk about light, there seems to be a consensus that we need the light, we need to get rid of corruption.
And security.
If corruption is out of the way, there will be security.
Okay.
You see, when you have a policeman who stands on the way, trying to collect...
I'm talking about Boko Haram. And that's the security.
Excuse me, it's an extension. When you don't have good intelligence gathering, when the intelligence agencies are not doing what they ought to do, that is corruption.
Okay.
It is when you now narrow down to the monetary aspect. When people are giving money to fund intelligence gathering, and the money is not being judiciously utilized, what is it? Corruption. When you talk about power, electricity, you now talk about privatization or whatever, and it lacks transparency. What is that? Corruption.
What is security vote? There are those who say, I don't understand. If they don't want to put a word to it.
It's a nebulous.
Because no accounting.
It's a nebulous thing.
Okay.
It's a nebulous concept, the issue of security votes, because it does not appear anywhere. And people will tell you that, look, it's the money I'm free to spend anyway, anyhow.
Okay. Prof, I'm going to come to you, but let me take Hassan calling in from Lekki. Good morning, Mr. Hassan.
Good morning, Mr. Yori. And good morning to the panelists over there, my professor and
Dr. Yusuf.
Dr. Fasi Yusuf. Let me start with Mr. Dr. Fasi Yusuf. Mr. Fasi Yusuf mentioned that is democracy synonymous with corruption? Yes and no. Why I say yes or no is that...
You've got to be brief, Mr. Hassan. Be brief, please.
Okay. Let us go back to historical antecedents. Whenever we are going to have an exit from military to democracy, people used to feel happy that, look, time will come where we can do whatsoever we like, lawlessness. And corruption, don't look at it from the taking of money. Corruption is based on being contrarious and antisocial. Corruption is not about just bribe alone, no. By the time you go contrary to the norm and you go antisocial, it's corruption. And secondly, about my president, my incoming president, GMB. The GMB, why people voted for GMB, and even a lot of our lawmakers became what they are today, they got elected today because of Buhari hurricane. Because we believed in Buhari. We know him as a former governor of the Northeast, uncorruptible governor. We knew him as a former minister of petroleum resources without a single oil block. We know him as a former president with no monumental building anywhere or any company anywhere. So that was why people voted for Buhari, and we're expecting a lot from him. By the time you remove corruption on the way, everything will fall in line.
All right,
why
then.
You don't see light is because of corruption.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Hassan. You could only talk about one of the gentlemen. You couldn't go to the other. But the interesting points that he makes.
Yes.
That the man that is coming on as our president this time around has certain attributes, and that is making people hopeful that things will be different. And to that extent, expectations are quite high.
That is why I say that it took him 12 years to see what it could be done. I mean, in petroleum, we are talking about oil that is the source of this corruption. And again, some other things that he has to do as the president. In addition to the security, to the power supply, he has to work on these roads.
Okay.
This network is something that he has to do that. Because here you have these armed robbers and stuff like that.
It's part of it.
It's part of it.
Okay.
And again, where can go, where an average Nigerian can go and get medical service immediately.
Of course.
So those are the things that he just have to hit the ground immediately.
So people expect him to tackle corruption. People expect, he himself wants to fix the economy. People expect him to do that. But he has said that his number one is going to be security. So in between, as you gentlemen have said, in between security and corruption, they will sort themselves out. Fix corruption, that other one will sort itself out.
We also need to stimulate the economy.
Of course.
We need to stimulate the economy because...
He talks about the economy being shabby.
And I do mind is the devil's workshop.
We're going to have to leave it there. I think let's just leave it right there. That is something. Thank you very, very much, Dr. Fasi Yusuf. You see, I think we've got to petition to our management to give us more time. Because as soon as we start getting into these ideas, time is over. But I want to thank you very, very much, Professor Femi Ajayi, Department of Political Science and Public Administration, Babcock University, and Dr. Fasi Yusuf, legal practitioner, political communication expert, and indeed fellow Department of Mass Communication of the University of Lagos. Thank you very, very much, gentlemen.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
I am Yori Folani. Bye-bye for now.